Welcome back to the channel. It's Martin here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about depression and type 1 diabetes and how I was to overcome it as someone newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So this video is going to be especially for you if you're someone that is struggling accepting type 1 diabetes. You're someone that is dealing with a ton of anxiety, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed, and you're having your mind is just in a really dark place. Make sure you watch this whole video because I'm sure it's going to help you. It's going to give you some motivation to overcome whatever you're dealing with type 1 diabetes. So let's jump right in the beginning of things. So something you have to understand about me is that I wasn't always a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 22 years old. So I never had to deal with injecting myself with insulin, pricking my fingers. I never had to deal with health in this manner where it's literally you're fighting for your life daily. I never understood what it is to inject too much insulin and have a low and then have to shove sugar down your face in order to stay alive. To me, when I got diagnosed, it was the hardest thing I had ever had to deal with. So when I was diagnosed, months into my diagnosis, I just started developing this really, really bad depression. And I was in a very dark place. My mind was just so tired of just these constant thoughts of me dying, these constant thoughts of what's going to happen to me in the future. Am I ever going to be able to have a family? What's the point of living? What's the point of trying anything? What's the point of going to work? What's the point of going to family parties, holiday parties? What's the point of doing anything in life? All I wanted to do was sleep in my bed. Literally, I just didn't want to get out of my little comfort zone. And I would just be in my little bubble and I didn't want to talk to anybody. And the reason why is because I felt misunderstood. I felt alone. I remember friends and family would tell me, Martin, you're going to get through this. We're praying for you, Martin. You're going to overcome this. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I had a social mask on, and to be honest, I didn't think I was gonna overcome it, and I just nobody really understood what I was going through, so I was just kind of going through the motions, but I had so much suffering inside. And I remember one of the biggest things that I had to deal with is that every time I would inject myself with short-acting insulin, I would have panic attacks thinking I was going low. So I would have a meal in front of me, and I would calculate the carbs, and then I would be there for like 30 minutes because I didn't know what was going on. It was like all new to me. So I would take my insulin, I would inject it, and within 30 seconds of me injecting insulin, I would start to feel like anxious. My heart rate would start going. And I would be like, wait, is this a low? Am I having a low? Because it was all new to me. I didn't understand it. Am I going to go low? Am I going to go low? So I would run to my meter and check my sugar levels and panic, like literally full-blown panic attacks. And my sugar levels were fine. It wasn't my sugar levels, it was my mind. So this started leading me to become severely depressed. I was becoming very, very depressed, and nobody knew what was going on. It was an internal suffering. I isolated myself from everybody around me. I didn't want anyone to see me. I just wanted to stay in my room. I wanted to sleep all day. I didn't feel like going to work. I didn't feel like going out with my friends. I didn't feel like doing absolutely anything. All I wanted to do was lay down in bed and disappear. And it wasn't like me. I was never like that. Before my diagnosis, before I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I was very optimistic, very happy. I would tell jokes. And as a teenager, I was always very outgoing and very talkative. Now, when I got diagnosed, I felt like literally my life got ripped right underneath my feet. So throughout the months going on, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, and I asked for help. And the first place I go for help was my medical team. I go to my doctors and I tell them what's going on, and they suggested some things that I wasn't okay with. BD support groups, but it wasn't just for type 1, it was for type 2s also. And just didn't. I was like, I'm too young to sit around in a circle and talk about my diabetes like that. And then they wanted to prescribe some medication, and I didn't want to go that route. So I felt hopeless, and that added to my depression. That added to my mental health issues that I was having. And the reason why I was having mental health issues um, was because I had no hope. I had no faith. I said, what's the point of living a life? And you can only imagine how dark that I got my thoughts. So I had suicidal thoughts. I had thoughts about harming myself. And I didn't know how to get out of it. And that was adding the fact that I had no hope. I had no faith to get out of it was what was causing the depression. And I didn't know what I know now as a type 1 diabetic, that that there is hope, that there is faith within this disease. And I'll explain to you in a little bit later as the story goes on by. So I remember a very clear a day very specifically. It was a cold night. I was trying to get some sleep. I couldn't. I was tossing and turning in bed, and my thoughts were just going 1,000 miles per hour. What's going to happen to you? Maybe if you go to sleep, you won't wake up. Maybe you're going to die in your sleep and nobody's going to be there. Dark thoughts. I'm talking like some very dark thoughts. And then I just had a mental breakdown, and I just started crying. I wake up. I run to the bathroom. I turn on the light, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And while I look at myself in the mirror, I'm looking at a person that I didn't even recognize. I felt so broken. I felt like I didn't know who I was. I lost all my identity. I lost everything I believed in. I didn't know what was going on. And when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I hear a little voice inside me that says, Martin, do not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. And when I close my eyes, I see a vivid picture of my mom. And I'm a big mama's boy at heart. So when I see this vivid picture of my mom, I start crying even more, because I didn't want my mom to see me in this state. I didn't want my family to see me suffer. So I open my eyes, I remember, and I look at myself in the mirror with my eyes red. I probably had mucus all over my face. I'm like crying, and I look at myself and I said, I will do whatever it takes to overcome this disease. I will do whatever it takes to battle this disease, to do whatever is in my power to live a long, healthy life as a type 1 diabetic. And that day I can remember it so clearly, is what embarked me in this health journey that I went on with type 1 diabetes. So the first thing I did was accept the fact that this was my new reality, accept the fact that I had to confront it. I personally had to do something about my situation. I knew my family couldn't do much for me. I knew my doctors, my medical team weren't gonna help me. So I had to figure this out on my own. But something about that decision gave me strength. Something about that decision I made gave me hope, gave me faith. And I had this survival of the fittest mentality. I said, I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever I have to do in order to take myself out of suffering. So I started doing a bunch of research online. I went into the diabetes community, and I started messaging hundreds of people and going on the forums and started trying to find out more information about type 1 diabetes. And then I learned as a type 1 diabetic that I can live a long, healthy life if I have the same sugar levels as someone with a working pancreas. I learned that I can have a family. I can go on activities with my friends and not fear lows. I can eat food and have stable sugar levels. I can live, one of the biggest things is I can live a long, healthy life. And the way to do that is by having the same sugar levels as someone with a working pancreas. So that gave me hope. Now, it's not an easy task to do. It was something very complex in the beginning, but that gave me hope that I can live this life without dealing with diabetic complications. Another thing that was adding to the depression was the fear of diabetic complications. I didn't want to go blind. I didn't want to deal with these ugly, nasty complications at a young age. So that decision embarked me and brought me to this journey where I started doing all this research, and I figured out, like, okay, there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So what I did is I started diving more into it, figuring it out, trying to see how to eat food properly. I had to relearn how to eat food. I had to relearn how to exercise. I had to relearn how to do everything in my life. But I felt in a way like I was in control of my future. And little by little, even though like the first day it was even hard for me to go about it and try to deal with it. It was all very overwhelming. But little by little, I started gaining more confidence. I started learning more. I started getting better at managing my sugar levels. And I was able to go from my A1Cs being at 11.7 at diagnosis to 5.1. And I was able to have very good control of my sugar levels. And then all of a sudden, my depression went away. And the depression went away because I felt in control. Like I felt like I was the driver of my life. I felt like I was in the driver's seat instead of the passenger seat. I felt like I was the one that if I put in the time and effort, and if I did things the way I should do things, and I did things correctly, that I could manage my sugar levels in a way where I wouldn't have to deal with these complications. Now, that is how I was able to get out of the depression. That was how I was able to have my normal life back, where I'm happy, where I'm joyful, even though I still have to inject myself with insulin, even though I have to prick my fingers 7 times a day sometimes, even though I have to deal with the crap insurance and deal with getting diabetes supplies, even though I have to deal with all that, I'm not immune to it. I still have lows at times. I feel like I'm the one in control, and that is what gives me confidence and hope to live a life as a type 1 diabetic. So now, listen to me. If you are a type 1 diabetic and you're dealing and you're suffering, and there's suffering inside of you, and not many people will understand what you're going through, but take this from someone that was there at a certain time in my life, where I understand what it feels like to feel misunderstood and alone in this journey. Take this from me. You have the power within you to overcome, but you have to make a decision that you're going to do whatever it takes in order to overcome, in order to get out of this pain that you're in. You have to make an internal decision that enough is enough. You're entitled to live a good, healthy life. And the way to do that is to have more control over your sugar levels. The more control you have over your sugar levels, the more control you feel over your life. So if you're watching this and you're someone that's going through it, you're dealing with it, and you have a ton of anxiety, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed with your sugar levels, just know that the way out is the way through, okay? No one can fight this battle for you. Only you can do this. Only you are the one that can overcome this. And the people around you might support you, and the people around you might give you a ton of warmth and love, but you are the one that has to physically take control over your sugar levels in order for you to feel in control over your life. And I guarantee that type 1 diabetes will make you the most confident person. Type 1 diabetes will open your eyes to the truth of reality. And I'm telling you, from someone that lives with it, I live with the disease. I'm not immune to it, but I do not suffer because of this disease. This disease does not have control over me anymore. And it's because I made that decision that one day, that one night, when I was crying and I had a mental breakdown. I made that decision that I was going to do whatever it takes in order to live a healthy life as a type 1 diabetic. And now, because of that decision, I'm able to have good control over my sugar levels. I live with optimism. I'm happy. And people don't understand. They're like, well, how is this person so happy and he's dealing with a chronic health illness? And the reason is I'm happy is because it builds courage in someone. This disease builds you up, builds your character, builds who you are. And that's what I want to tell you, is that you are the one that has control. Don't let this depression keep you down. Don't let type 1 diabetes stop you in any shape, way, form. Don't let it stop you from anything you do. You are the one that has the control. You have it within you. I believe in you. Now, if you're a type 1 diabetic and you say, okay, Martin, I understand I need to have more control, but I don't know how. I've been dealing with this disease for a very long time, and I feel like I don't know what to do to have the same sugar levels as someone with a working pancreas, to have normal sugar levels, A1Cs below 5.7. Then I got a couple things for you. Number one, you can click the link on the bio below, click the link on the description, excuse me, and you can book a free strategy session with me, and I guarantee you that this call with me will change your life. Click the link, read through the app, through the website, read through everything, watch the free video, and apply for a free strategy session with me. And the other thing that you can do is that you can join a group of type 1 diabetics. I made a Facebook group specifically for this reason, to help others dealing with type 1 diabetes, so we can all do it together. And that link is going to be there. Request access to join the Facebook group. And again, you don't have to do this alone. There's people out there that are living what you're living with, and we can do it together. So hope this video helped. I'm wishing you the best. I'm praying for you. If you're watching this video, I really want to see you happy with this disease. I want to not just see you survive, but I want to see you thrive. So keep at it. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult, but I also know that you have it within you to do so. So let's keep on going. Let's keep on showing the world what it's possible living with type 1 diabetes.